Today, I'll be showing you how to add custom chat tags that can change for different teams, different roles in a group, along with choosing specific players. In order to set this up, get the model from the important link section of the description, which we will be changing to make sure that it works in your game. You will then be able to find and open this through the second button from the left inside of the toolbox, which should be enabled alongside the Explorer and Properties through the View tab at the top left of the screen. You can now click it to add it into your game, and when you open up the folder, you will be presented with two more things. There will be optional written instructions in here just in case it's easier for you to learn and set it up through this way, but since we won't be using it in the video, we can get rid of it and open up the scripts folder. In this part of the video, we are only going to be using the player/group chat tag script, so we can get rid of the other one, then drag this one into the server script service, and then open it up to start configuring it. Before you change anything in the script, the main lines that we will be changing range from line 8 all the way to line 52, and this is just going to be for the player only tags. I'll be explaining the format, how you can add more of these and customize it entirely on your own in this section. The first thing you'll need to change is the number right here. This is the user ID of the player that will receive a custom chat tag. In order to find this number, you can go to their profile and then go into the web address bar. The number that you find there is what you will need to copy and paste into this part of the script so that it knows which player needs it. Inside of here, you can change a bunch of different things. You can change their chat color, so whenever they type in chat, it will be this color. Their name color, so the color of their username in the chat, the font, and that's going to be basically the style of the text size, so how large or small it is, along with the tags. So inside of the tag section, you can add multiple tags. In order to add a new tag into the list, all you need to do is copy one of these sections right here. So this is inside of the tags table, and if it's a little bit confusing, basically wherever it says tag text, or I might even add comments in here, so I could say starts tag 1. So these two brackets that contain the tag text and tag color, you can copy this, and below one of the other tags, so after one of its endings, you can paste it, and it is going to be a brand new tag that will show up. So this is what we've done here with these two tags. Now I'll explain how these properties work as well. So the tag text is going to be whatever text shows up inside of the chat tag. So in this case, it will say YouTuber. The one below it is going to be what color it is. So that means that it's going to say the word YouTuber and its color is going to be really red. Now the second tag, which is going to be to the right of the first one, instead is going to say developer and its color is going to be lime green. And then that ends all of the tags in here. And then this ends the tag list and this one ends the user ID. So let's say you wanted to add another user to the list besides just having two. What you could do is copy one of these sections right here, so from wherever it ends the user ID all the way to where it has the user ID, so this is one whole section. You can copy this now by either doing Control-C or Command-C on Mac, or right-clicking it and clicking on copy, and then you could go below, again, wherever it says ends user ID, so after this part, and then you could paste it in, change it to be however you would like, and then you will have a completely new user in here that has completely different chat tags. So now if I go over here, let me go and test it. So this is my user ID right here, so I should be receiving one tag that says YouTuber, another one that says developer, my chat color should be buttermilk, and my name color should be electric blue, and these are the default Roblox font settings and text size. So now if I go over into the game and I click on play at the top, once I load in, once I type into the chat, if I say hi, it says YouTuber, developer, my name is in blue, and then my chat is in buttermilk, so it's not the normal text color, which you can see over here at the top for comparison. If you're looking for more specifics on how every single line of the script works, before we move on to the next part of the video, you can go to the timestamp on the screen, and that is where I explain everything. So now from here, let's move on into group-only tags. In order to set this up, get the model from the important link section of the description, which we will be changing to make sure that it works in your game. You will then be able to find and open the model through the second button from the left inside of the toolbox, which should be enabled alongside the Explorer and Properties through the View tab at the top left of the screen. You can then click it to add it into your game, and once you have that, you can open up the folder and you will be presented with two more things. There will be optional written instructions in here, just in case it's easier for you to learn and set it up this way, but we won't be using it in the video, so I'm going to get rid of that and open up the scripts folder. Inside of here, we are going to be using the player/group chat tags for this part of the video, so we can remove the other one, and then we can drag this one into the server script service and open it up. Before you start changing anything, in this part of the video, we are going to be modifying lines 55 all the way down to 120. Seems like a lot, but it's mainly just different templates that I've provided. So I'll be explaining what you need to change for all of these, how you can add more tags and customize it completely to your own liking. So there are going to be two variants of this. There's going to be one that will have chat tags for a certain rank in the group, and another one will be for a certain range of ranks in the group. I'm going to be explaining the individual role at the top first. So inside of here, this number is going to be the role ID of a certain rank in your group. In order to find this, you can go to the page of your group, you can click the three dots at the top right and click on Configure Group, and then click on the Roles button at the left side, and then you can select a role. Once you've done that, there should be something that shows a number between 0 and 255, and in this case, my role is 254. So you want to copy this number and paste it into this section right here. Now, anyone in this role will now have a different chat color when they type something into the game. So it's going to be pastel violet. The color of their username is going to change to this color. The font, so anything they type and any of the tags will be in this font style. The text size, so how large or small the text is, will be changed by this one. And most importantly, we have tags. You can have as many or as few tags as you would like. In order to add more tags, all you need to do is copy and paste one of these sections right here. So where it says starts tag and ends tag, you want to copy these 4 lines, so copy it. So with Control-C or Command-C on Mac, or you can right-click it and click on Copy, and below another spot that says Ends Tag, you want to paste that section in here. So that means you should not be starting a new tag inside of another one. And it might be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to make sure that this makes sense inside of the written instructions, just in case this is a little bit confusing for you. So inside of here, we can change multiple things. We can change what shows up inside of the chat tag. So the first one here would be owner, and the color of that word would be whatever we put into here. And then the second tag is going to appear to the right of the first one. So first it'll say owner, and afterwards it will say another tag, and it will be under this color. And then if you wanted to add more roles, what you could do is copy this whole section right here. So beginning at the start of the role and down to the line where it says ends the role ID, you can copy this, and then you can paste it after another one of those sections. So just to show you that this part works before I explain the second one, I am going to go and play test this, and first I'm going to change the ID up there so it doesn't use the player tag. So just to keep in mind, I should have the owner and another tag along with some different colors here for the chat and the name, and I'm going to be using the default Roblox font and size. So if I go over here and I click play at the top, as soon as I type in a chat over here, so if I say hi, as you can see it starts off with owner, it has another tag, and then my name is changed and the color of the chat is changed. And you can compare it by looking at the color of this along with the default text that shows up at the very top. So now that we have this, let's see how we can add it for multiple roles in the group. So in order to do this, make sure that when you are inside of the group, you check different roles inside of the group and that you see what ranks they are set to. So let's say if I wanted it all the way down to moderators, I could say rank 40 all the way over to rank 254. And in order to set this up, here's what you need to do. So I'm going to go scroll down all the way over to where it says rank ranges. And now this starts at line 124 by default if you haven't changed the script yet. Inside of here, you can create new number ranges for anything that you would like. So in this case, I have low ranks set to a new number range where the lowest role that will be able to have a new chat tag will be 250, and the highest role in that category will be 251. For more ranks, I'm going to have that listed here, 252, to 253, and you could make these names whatever you would like. But these names right here is what you need to change the text inside of here to be. So that means for this I'll just say for this low ranks section, anyone who has a role with an ID in between these two numbers, or it could include these numbers as well, then they will receive any of the chat tags right here. And if you want to add more to this, make sure there's a comma at the end, then you could say something else. I could say new ranks is equal to number range.new, the lowest number, so it could be 1, and the highest number, which could be 100. And now this is what you could also do if you wanted everyone who's in your group to have one singular chat tag inside of the game. So I'm going to get rid of this right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this by including my role into here. So I'm going to make sure that the highest number is 254 because the role I am currently in is number 254. And then I'll check it with the low ranks afterwards. So if I go into here, so I should be in the more ranks, and I know kind of confusing, I don't know why I chose that. So that means that I should have a tag that says more ranks, and the second one should say test, and it's going to have a bunch of different colors and customization options. So now if I go over here and make sure that this is set to something different, and if I go and click on play here, and now when I type into chat, it should say more ranks. So if I say hi, so now it says more ranks, it says test, my name is in a different color, and whatever I say in the chat is also in a different color. So I go over here and I click stop and I go back into the script. I can go back and change the number range over here. So I'm just going to change this to be, here, let me just paste it. And I'm just going to put this one into that number range. So I'm just going to swap it around. So now I should have the low ranks tag. So in this case, I'll have one that says low ranks and the second tag will say another test. So then if I go back into here and I click on play here, now when I type in the chat, so if I say hi, I have low ranks, another test, and then all of these things are in different colors. So if there are some unintended features of this that you're curious about, or other things that you would like to change inside of the script, go to the timestamp on screen because that's where I'll be explaining how every single line of code in these scripts work. And then now we are going to move on to the team-only chat tag script. In order to set this up, get the model from the important link section of the description, which we will be changing to make sure that it works in your game. You will then be able to find and open this through the second button from the left inside of the toolbox, which should be enabled alongside the Explorer and Properties from the View tab at the top left of the screen. You can then click on the model to add it into your game, and once you open up the folder, you will be presented with two more things. There are going to be optional written instructions in here just in case it's easier for you to learn and set it up through written instructions, but since we won't be using it in the actual video, I'm going to get rid of this and open up the scripts folder. In this part of the video, we are only going to be using the team chat tag script, so I can get rid of the other one and drag this directly into the server script service and open it up. Before you start adjusting anything, the main parts of the script we will be changing are from lines 12 all the way down to line 56. It might seem like a lot, but it's mainly just templates that I will be explaining how you can add more to the list if you want more teams to have chat tags, along with all of the different customization settings that they have. And if you do not want some teams to have chat tags, I have a system in place for that as well. To start, the first thing that you will need to adjust is the word right here. This is going to be the name of the team that will be receiving the chat tags. So what you should go and do is go over into the Explorer and scroll down until you see the team service or folder. If you don't have this, you can go to the model tab at the top left of the screen, click on service, which has this blue and red gear, and then you should be able to add the team service through there. So the names of the teams here are what we are going to put into this section, and I'm going to have an extra team here that will not have any chat tags be given to it, just to show you what that looks like as well. So in this case, I'm having chat tags for Team Blue and Team Red. So for this one, here's what Team Red will receive. Anyone on that team will have their chat color changed to this color over here, and you can change it to whatever you would like. The name color will be changed, so the color of their username. The font, so it's going to change what style the text is in, along with the text size, so that's going to change how large or small the text will be. And down here is going to be the tags that the players on these teams will receive. In order to add more tags to the list, here's what you'd need to do. And I'll explain how to customize these in a moment as well. I have it commented on certain lines that says starts tag 1 and ends tag 1, or starts tag 2, ends tag 2. Now this is what will define the start and the end of a tag. So what you could do with this is you could then go from one of the lines, so this is where it starts or this is where it ends. You can select all of it so that you have everything from where it starts, everything in between, and then the line where it ends, and you can copy it by holding Control-C on Windows or Command-C on Mac, or right-clicking it and clicking on Copy. And then you can paste it below a section where another chat tag or this one ends. So that means that I can paste it down here so that it starts after the previous one has ended, or else it will break if you try to paste it inside of here and it won't work properly. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to remove the third chat tag and we can continue. So inside of here, the tag text is going to be what words show up inside of the chat tag. The tag color is going to change what color that text will show up in. So that means that the first tag that I will receive on the red team will be the word red, and its color will be really red. The second tag will appear to the right of the previous tag. So this one, there will be the word test, and the color of it will be royal purple. But then if I scroll down over here to the blue team, they are going to receive some different things for their chat color as well as the player's name. And then over here, the text that will show up inside of the chat tag instead will be blue, and it will be a different color. And the second one will instead say test, and it's going to do the same thing for that. But it is going to be in a different color. I'm just going to change this to say test 2, just so we can differentiate it from one another. Now, just to test this really quick, I am going to go over here and I am going to click play at the top just to show you what it would look like. So to start, I have been put onto Team Blue. So if I type something into the chat, I have the blue chat tag. Test 2 is right afterwards, along with a bunch of different things for the name as well as the color of the text, which is different from the default one if you compare it to the default text that shows up here at the top. If I change over to Team Red and I type in something else, as you can see, I will have completely different tags, the different properties we have set up. If I go on over here to a team that doesn't have a chat tag, it is going to completely clear it and it is going to make it go back to default. So now I'm just going to go back over, let's say Team Blue. I'm going to say hi. And then this spawn over here is a neutral spawn point, so it does not have a team associated with it. So if I step on this one, it is going to do the same thing by clearing all of the previous tags that we had. And if you want to add more to this list, what you could do is copy one of these whole sections right here. So starting with the name of the team and ending on the line that says ends team tag, and you could hover over it, copy it, and then paste it after another one of these ends. Ooh, and then I will need to add a comma here, so I'll add that to these so that it will be properly defined and you won't run into any errors. So now that we have that, we can move on to the final part of the video, which will be explaining what every single line for both of these scripts does. If you're looking to set up the chat tags, then please go to one of the 3 timestamps on the screen, whichever you would like, because in this part of the video, I am just going to be explaining how every single line of code works together in these 2 scripts to help you understand and learn anything that I might not have presented in the earlier parts of the video. In addition to the fact, if you wanted to change anything that I did not bring up then, this is where I will be able to explain that for you. And now we are going to open up the model, which you can find through the important link section of the description. And if you have any further questions after I explain any of this, then you can feel free to leave a comment down below and I will try to answer as soon as possible. We are going to start with the player/group chat tag script. So if you want the full explanation of the team chat tag script, then please go to the timestamp on screen when I explain that. So now let's open up the other one and we can begin. We are going to start here up at the very top where we have a bunch of different variables. Now a variable is basically where we are making a word have a certain value attached to it. Or in other words, we are making a word equal to something else in the game so that it will be easier and quicker to talk about in later parts of the script. This also means that if we have other places where this is referenced, let's say we wanted to change what it's talking about. Instead of changing it in this part of the script, we can change the variable where it is defined. So now I can change this part to say something like game.workspace. So now whenever anywhere inside of the rest of the script it says server script service, instead it will be talking about the workspace, because that is what the variable has been made equal to. Now in this case, it's not going to work like this because we are waiting for something called chat service runner in this next part of the script. And that cannot be found inside of the workspace by default. So I'm going to revert that to the original variable we have and move on to this part. So the chat service runner is what is handling the chat on the server side of the game. And now the reason we are referencing this is because in the next part of the script we are referencing the chat service. And this is what is handling every single speaker and every message that gets sent through the in-game chat. And this is also what allows developers to add certain announcements and different things into the chat that does not come from a player. So if you ever see anything like tips and tricks inside of the chat, or reminders that tell you to join a group or do a certain thing, that is what developers have been using in order to have that happen. They are adding a speaker into the chat service that is not a player. And speaking of speakers, in the next line of the script, we are making the word speakers equal to getting the list of speakers currently in the game from the chat service. Whenever a player joins or says something in a chat, they will automatically have a speaker created for them. And by getting this list, we will be able to loop through it later on and run the function that will allow the script to check through all of these tables over here and see if they have any chat tags that need to be given to them. And now before we get on to all of these chat tags over here, we need to see how we even get to this point. So I'm going to go down all the way over to the functions that make this happen, that apply everything. I'm going to go to the very bottom, in fact, and I'm going to start all the way down here. So this, remember, we have the chat service being referenced all the way at the very top of the script. And what this is doing is whenever a speaker is added into the chat service, we are connecting it to the function called setChatTags, which is this one right here, and which is what I will be explaining in just a moment. And down here we are doing a very similar thing. But in this case, we are looping through all of the current speakers that are found inside of the speaker list. And what we are doing is that for each of the speakers inside of there, because in this case, this would be referring to the position in the loop, the I, and the speaker name is referring to the actual value or whatever is inside of that part of the loop, and we are activating that function with the speaker name. So in this case, let's say, we loop through the scripts folder over here. You could say that position 1 is this script, but when we say speaker name, it would be referring to the actual script itself, and then team chat tags could be position 2, and it would be referring to the actual script itself. And now that we have that, let's go over here and go up to the function. So inside of here, we have what is known as a parameter. Now, a parameter is going to be what stands for the data that was passed through the argument over here. Now you're like, whoa, this dude is saying a bunch of crazy words that I don't know what it means. Well, in this case, an argument is what data is being sent through from one of these over here. So now this over here is being activated from a speaker added event. And now when that is happening, the type of data that gets sent through this is the name of the speaker. So in this case, when I go over here, what is being sent through, or what can be referenced by saying speaker name through this parameter, is going to be the name of the speaker. And the reason we are using this is so that on the line right below it, we are making the word speaker equal to getting the speaker from their name. So it is going to get the speaker in the list based off of their name alone. And the reason we are also doing this is so that we can check if it is a player. So it is going to see if it can get a player from the speaker. And the reason we are doing this is so that 2 lines below it, we can only run the code if it is a player. And this is because if you had anything in your game that was running like announcements or things that weren't a player, you wouldn't want to check it if they are in a certain group or not, or if their user ID is found somewhere inside of the table above, because it is not a player, so it's not going to have any of those properties. So we are only going to move on with the rest of the script if the function was able to find a player attached to that speaker. And then the first things we are doing in here is we are creating a bunch of different variables. So we are making the word player check equal to looking through the player tags table up over here for their user ID. So this is the number that you can find on their profile inside of the web address bar. And then the line below it, we are defining a word group, and we are making it equal to the ID of a certain group, which again can also be found inside of the web address bar when you are on the page of a group. And then the two lines below it, we are checking for different things. We are checking, okay, is that player in the group? And then we are also checking for their rank in that group. And the reason we are doing this is so that in the next line, we can instead look through the group tags table for their certain rank. So if their rank is found inside of here, then later on in the script, the function will know that, hey, this person is in this role, so that means they need to be given this set of chat tags and these different properties for their chat color and everything else. And now again, we do have certain ranges of ranks in here, which I will explain how that works once we get through more of the script. So now we have this, okay, we are starting up here. We have an if-then statement. Now this is what is known as a conditional statement. So that means that if something is true, if something exists, if this condition is met, where in this case we are checking if the player tags table has their player's user ID found somewhere in there, then something will happen. However, let's say this wasn't the case. It is going to move to the else if statement instead. So if this wasn't true, then it's going to check for this one. So in this case, it would be group check. So it's going to check if the player is in the group. And the reason we are doing this is because if we try to check for their certain rank in the group already, if they aren't in the group, the code may error because it's going to index nil. It's not going to exist because they're not even in the group in the first place. So in the case that it is not player check and that it is not group check, if there is an else, then it is going to run with that line if code. But now let's go to this part right here. So what we are doing now is we are creating a loop. So we are saying for key comma value in pairs, and we are putting the name of the table. Now again, key comma value, this is going to reference the different things. So key is going to reference the user ID, or sorry, the group ID or user ID, whichever one we're at. And the value is going to be what is on the right side or what it is being made equal to. So in this part of the script over here, we are looping through player check, which in this case is equal to the player's user ID. The reason we are doing this is so that we can access everything defined inside of that table. So we are looping through all of those things. We are printing that the player tag has been set for troubleshooting purposes so we can know if anything is going wrong or if it's working. And then we are setting extra data to that speaker, and this is what is allowing us to add a chat tag to them. We are setting the key and the value as the extra data. So inside of here, we are looping through this part of the table. So we have found the user ID inside of the table. So we are looping through this table, which contains these different things. So in this case, in that part of the script, the key is whatever is on the left side right here, and the value is what it is made equal to. So that is why we are making the chat color equal to a new color here and doing all of these other things. And that is why, since the tag is over here, this is a key, the value that is being set to it is everything inside of here. And now this might be confusing since we have a lot of tables or dictionaries contained inside of one another. So if you have any specific questions about that, I can include some resources into the important link section of the description that could explain it further. Alright, so now let's say that player check was not true. So in this case, since this is ending the player check loop over here, this end, that means that this else if statement is still referring to this player check. So if this isn't true, this is where it is going next. It is checking for the else if. So let's say group check was true. Let's say that they are in the group. Now instead it is going to start by looping through the rank ranges. And it's like, whoa, we haven't talked about the rank ranges yet. Well, now we are going to talk about that. The rank ranges can be found right here. And this is where we are defining certain ranges of rank. So this is going to be if you want players across a certain range of roles to have a certain tag applied to them. So in this case, you wouldn't need to put, let's say, role 250, 251, and however many more, and copy paste those over and over again like this just to give them the exact same tags. So we are making a word called low ranks. You can change this to whatever you want, equal to a number range that will contain the lowest number where the player will be given the tag, and the highest number where they will be given the tag. And then a comma will separate it from the next part, and then you could add another comma and continue doing this over and over again. So what we are doing, so remember, keep these two numbers into mind. So what we are doing is we are looping through the rank ranges table. And now the word rank is going to refer to the name of the ranks we did over here, and requirements is going to reference the number range that we have set. And the reason we are doing this is because we are going to be checking if rank check, so their rank in the group, is greater than or equal to the minimum number that we set for the requirements, and if it is less than or equal to the maximum number. This is what will allow us to know if their role inside of the group or their rank falls within that range. Because if that is the case, then we can move on and we can set a certain chat tag for them. So then I am making a word called rank tag over here equal to that specific rank, and then we are going to loop through the group tags table wherever that specific rank was, and then we are going to do the same thing. We are going to set the extra data. We're going to say that the group tag has been set. So let's say that I was within the low rank section, then that means that inside of here, it is going to loop through this part of the script. It's going to loop through the low ranks table that contains all of these different tags here. Well, let's say this wasn't true over here. So let's say that their rank didn't fall under any of the requirements. Then this else statement, this is going to run in the case that anything else is true. So then the first thing we are doing in here is we are checking if group tag check is not equal to nil. So the group tag check is looking through the group tags table to see if their rank, because again, I don't know if I explained this earlier, so that might have been my bad. When we are saying get rank in group, the number that it is returning is the role ID. So then inside of here, in the group tags table, it is going to be looking for that specific number. So what we are doing here is if group tag check is not equal to nil, if we didn't define that role inside of the table, then we are just going to stop it right here. It's not going to be able to pass through this part. But if it does find anything, something inside of that table, then we can continue. We can then loop through that part of the script, which is going to be the table that contains their role ID and all of that. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to set the extra data, and it will be nice and dandy. And then all of these here, these end all of the different parts of the script. I have it labeled because there's so many of them that it's way easier to keep track of it and have it set up like this. But now let's just go on over here to the top and let's just briefly look through some of these things here. So now I pretty much explained how all of this worked in the earlier parts of the video when I was explaining how to set it up, but I'll just run through it really quick again. So some of the extra data that you are able to set inside of the chat are these values which you have on the left. You have the chat color, which is the color of the text when someone types in the chat, the name color, the color of their username, the font, so that's going to change what the text looks like, the style, and this applies to both the chat tags that are set as well as what they are typing, and of course the text size, which is changing how large or small it is. And then the tags here, this is creating again a new table that contains some more values. It has the tag text, which is what will be showing up inside of the chat tag, and the tag color, which is what defines or decides what the color of that tag will be. And then a comma here is going to separate it from the next one, so you can add more tags if you'd like. This bracket right here is going to end the tags table, and if you ever need to know which bracket is ending what, if you click on one of them, it's going to highlight the other, so it'll make it so much easier. And I've also commented on it just so it makes it easier to understand. And then at the very end, once we add a comma here, it is separating it from, or it is basically, ending this part of the table because it closes off the section at the very top, which was for the user ID. And then we can go on into the, sorry, I'm probably explaining things really bad. And then we could, basically just create a whole new table with a new user ID and all of that and continue going on. And the group tags over here follows the same principle. The only thing that's a little bit different is inside of here, instead of putting a number, we are putting the name of the range that we created inside of this part over here. So that's why I'm saying low ranks and more ranks over here in this part of the script. And that basically covers it for the player/group chat tags script. So now we can move on to the team chat tags. So now we are at the team chat tags, we can open this up and explain how it works. Now, if you're just making it to this part of the video, if you skipped ahead to the team chat tags explanation, we're going to start over here at the very top of the script where we have a bunch of different variables. Now, I don't know how well I'll be able to explain this compared to earlier inside of the player/group chat tags part of this video, because this is basically the exact same as that part of the video. So if you're looking for like probably the better explanation, then here's the timestamp on screen that you could watch that and you could come back here. But if not, since most of you probably won't go back to do that, I'll explain it still. So here, when we are making a variable is when we make a word have a certain value attached to it, or we are making a word equal to something else in the game that takes way longer to type, so that later on in the script it will be easier and quicker to reference. And so let's say I made a mistake where I'm going to use the server script service here as an example, and we're making the server script service equal to the actual server script service over here inside of the Explorer. Let's say I want to change this over to the workspace instead. I can make the word have this new value attached to it. So instead of going into every part of the script where I might have said game get service server script service, all I would need to do is basically just keep it the exact same. Because what we're doing here is we are just referencing the name of the variable. And since this is where it was first defined, we're making the server script service equal to something else. Wherever we talk about it later on is just going to take the value that is attached to it. So because down here we are not making the server script service equal to anything, it is going to take whatever value was most recently set to it. So I'm going to undo this or else it won't make any sense when we move on and we can continue. So right here, now we are referencing the team service, and this contains all of the teams inside of the game. And we are doing this so that in the next line, we are able to get a list of all of those teams. We're able to turn it into a table so that in one part of the script later, we are able to check whenever someone is joining a new team, and then apply the correct chat tags accordingly. And then in the next part here, we are referencing the chat service runner, which is found inside of the server script service and is called chat service runner. And this is what is handling the chat on the server side. It is duplicated there upon the first time that the game is loaded up, the first time someone joins the game. And the reason we are doing this is also so that in the next line, we can access the chat service. And this is what handles whenever someone sends a new message into chat, so that it can show everything up in there. And also so that in the next line we can get a list of all of the different speakers. So this includes all of the players that join into the game, as they automatically have a speaker that allows them to talk into the chat. But this will also get a list of any artificial speakers added into the chat. So if you ever join a game that has certain things going in the chat, such as announcements, or maybe it says something like, hey, if you would like to suggest anything for the game, you could message this certain person. That is what can be added through the chat service, even though it is not a player. And again, I can include these inside of the important link section of the description. And now that we have that, we are going to get to the team tags part of the script a little bit later, because we need to see how we even got to this part in the first place and how we apply those certain chat tags. And also, I did explain most of these and how it worked earlier in the video, so I won't be covering a ton with this specific part of the script, but let's just start down all the way over here to where it all begins. So over here at the very bottom, I'm just going to start with this one. So what this is doing is it is looping through what we defined as speakers. So this is the list of speakers in the game, and it is going to activate the function called set chat tags, which is right over here, and it is going to send the speaker name through it. And again, over here, the I is referencing the position in the loop, and the speaker name is referencing the actual value that is attached to it. So if I go over here, I'm going to use the same example as earlier. Let's say I'm looping through the scripts folder. This first script over here, for I, it could be position 1 in the loop, and then the speaker name would be the actual script itself, and the same with the second one, it would be position 2 in the loop. The speaker name would be referring to the actual script itself. And now that we have that, we can continue. So here, let's go over to this function. Now in this case, we are creating a function whenever something happens. So whenever a speaker is added into the chat service. So we are getting a certain value whenever this happens. Since this is an event that is running a function, the data that is being passed through is the name of the speaker. And now this word right here is known as a parameter. Now this is what is going to stand for the data that was passed through from the event that activated it. So whenever a speaker is added into the chat service, so kind of like whenever someone joins the game, the value that will be passed through is their name. So the first thing that we are going to do is activate the set chat tags function and send their speaker name through it. And again, this is just going to run the function. You can refer to it by saying speaker name up over here with this parameter, and I'll explain this function in a little bit. And if I'm explaining things really bad in this part of the video, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll still have every single line commented inside of the script just in case none of this makes sense still. All right, once that function runs, we are going to just go down into this part of the script so that certain things will happen upon different events, and so that whenever it needs to, we can set or change their chat tags to something else. Because this first part of the script here, this function is being activated for the first and only time whenever a speaker is added into the chat service. So if we have this here up at the very top, this is only going to run whenever the speaker is added. So we are going to need a way to activate the function again. I might have just repeated myself there, but that's okay. To start, we are referencing the word speaker, and this is being made equal to getting the speaker based off of their name in the chat. The reason we are doing this is so that on the next line we can check if that speaker is a player or not. And the reason we are getting the player is so that we're able to access things such as their team, because like I mentioned earlier, when you have those artificial speakers inside of the chat service that are just like announcements that aren't a player, they aren't going to have a team. So we need to make sure that what we are talking about in the script is actually a player. So I'm going to skip over this part of the script really quick, just because it'll make more sense once I've explained what's below it. And this is mainly just the additional part that will clear the chat tags off of the player if they are on a neutral team. So basically whenever they step on a spawn point that has the neutral property enabled. So I'll get to that momentarily. So right here in this part, what we are doing is we are looping through the team list. So we define this up towards the very top. This is what has created a table that contains all of the teams inside of the game. So we are looping through this, and we are checking whenever a player is added to one of those teams. So whenever someone joins or changes teams, this will be activated. If player team. So if the player has a team in the first place, if it is not nil, if it exists, and if the player's team name is not equal. And I just realized that this doesn't make any sense because I had a completely different system in here before. So I am actually going to modify this a little bit, and I'm just going to have it do something a little bit different. So I'm going to have this here, and that really didn't change the functionality of this too much so long as you had multiple teams. So that's why it still worked in the earlier part of the video. The reason I had that was because I originally created a table that would store what team the player is on, but then I realized that it would have been much more efficient and easier just to look through the team tags table to see if there was something listed there with their team name. So I could actually change this as well. I'm just going to add a comment here for right now, and I can change the comments or the print statement to whatever I need it to be later, and we can continue. So sorry about that. That was a mistake on my part. So now what this is doing is it is checking if the player has a team. And actually I can also get rid of this part right here just because we have something that will handle this up at the very top. Sorry, this is not what I intended to do in this part of the video, but hey, you get to see it here. You get to see it firsthand what it could look like to realize that you can remove unnecessary parts of the script. So now what this is going to do is it's going to check, okay, if the player has a team, and don't worry, I'll check this afterwards to make sure that it still works as intended. If the player has a team that they're on, then we are going to activate the set chat tags function, and we're going to send the speaker name through. And the reason we are doing this is so that, again, we are able to do the same thing. We're able to get the speaker, and we are able to see if it is a player because this function is also being activated from this speaker's loop, so we are going to do the same thing. I could have sent the player through into that function, but then when we got to this part of the script with these different variables, it would be referencing things that don't necessarily exist. So it would be trying to get the speaker from the player instead of the speaker name itself. I know it might be confusing, but it's because of the data that is being sent through into the function. So now what we are doing here is, again, we're checking if it's a player, and we are making sure that their team exists, that it is not equal to nil. And then now we are creating a variable called team check. And what we are doing with this is we are looking through the team tags table up here at the very top, and we're looking for something at the very start that has their team name. And so this is so the script will know, hey, we found a table that has the name of their team in it. So then later on we can go and apply all of these different values and properties to the chat so that the player will have the things that we intend for them to have, so they have the right chat tags. So then we're saying if team check, so if it does find something in the table that has the name of their team, then we are going to loop through that table, and then we are going to set extra data to it. So this is what is allowing us to have those properties applied. The key in this case is going to be referring to everything right here in this part, because instead of looping directly through the team tags table, we are looping through the table of their team name. So if this is a little bit confusing, let's go back down here. So because we are making team check equal to looking through the team tags table for something with their name, when we loop through it down here, it is looping through the end destination. So in this case, it is going to be the player's team name. So because this is what is being referenced to, this is the table that is looped through. And again, this might be confusing. I'll put resources into the description if I am making absolutely no sense at all. And you can always ask questions in the comment section if need be. All right, this part's ending the team check loop. But let's say that this was not true. Let's say that it didn't find anything inside of that table up there that had the same name as our team. So else if not team check. Then we are going to print that the player is on a team that has no chat tag inside of the team tags list. And then instead we are going to loop through something else and set new values. We are looping through the clear tags table, and more specifically the neutral part of that. So if I go up over here, we have the clear tags table. And then I have something in here defined as neutral. What this is doing is that we are changing the chat color back to default. We're making sure that the font that the text shows up in is again default, the size is default, and then we have the tags folder as being empty. And this is so that we can remove the chat tags from the player in certain situations where they just don't need any of the chat tags. And this is really important because let's say that someone swapped to a team that did not have any chat tags. If we didn't have something in place for that, the chat tags they would have would still be from the previous team. So if I swapped over from team blue over to team green, which doesn't have any chat tags, whenever I typed in the chat, it would still show blue or whatever we have is set up for the blue team. So then if I scroll back down over here, that is what it is doing. It's setting all of those different things, and it also prints this just to know that that was what happened and that it's not just something that has broken inside of the script. Similarly, if we go back down over here to this script or this function, this is what we are doing right here. We are checking whenever the neutral property inside of the player changes. Because here, if I go over here and I playtest this, and I guess you'll be able to see it firsthand to see if it works or not, or if I decided to break the script from earlier. So if I go over here, I'm just going to type in a chat. I'll just say, okay, so I have the YouTuber and developer, and actually I think it's because, let me go back over here, the player/group chat tag script has overridden the team chat tags one. So I'm going to click on it and disable it. I'm going to click play here at the top, and now let's see what happens. So I'm on the blue team, so if I say hi over here, as you can see, it has the blue chat tag. And if I step over here, this is a neutral spawn point. It has the neutral property enabled along with the allow team change on touch. So it is going to put me onto a neutral team, which is basically for players that don't have a team. So now if I say okay, it removed all of the chat tags and it changed the chat color to default. It made everything basically default. But then if I go back over here to another team, the neutral team disappears, and now when I type something into chat, and then it will show the proper things. So that is what that part of the script is doing, it is checking here, okay, whenever the neutral property changes inside of the player, it is going to connect it to a function. If the player's neutral property is equal to true, which makes them show up on the neutral team, then what is going to happen is that we are going to again loop through this table over here and apply all of these different values to the chat so that it will be able to clear all of the chat tags and have everything set back to default. So then if we go up here, I'm just going to briefly explain some of the things in here, even though I did explain it a little bit earlier. So basically, what we have inside of here, the chat color, name color, font, text size, and tags, these are all of the different extra data types that you can apply to the chat, or maybe it's not all of them. I'm pretty sure that it is, but if not, I could provide a link in the important link section of the description to the Roblox Developer Hub that will explain this. So at least these are the ones that we are changing, or we could change inside of the chat. So again, we're making the chat color equal to a certain color, so whenever someone types into the chat, it'll be that color. The name color, so this will change the color of their username. The font will change the style of the text and all of it, including the chat tags we have below. The text size, how large or small the text is. And then of course we have the tags over here, where we can change what text, what words show up inside of the tag, the color of that tag, and then of course we have a comma after the end of this specific section so that we can add multiple chat tags if we would like to. And if you're ever confused with what one of these brackets actually closes off, if you click it, it will actually indicate what the starting and ending bracket is so that it will be easier to figure out what is closing off what. And then over here at the very end, it is ending off this specific section. So if you wanted to add more teams to the list, you can copy and paste this whole section down a line or however more after one of the team tags ends, and then you'll be able to continue customizing it as you wish. And I apologize there for kind of maybe not explaining things the best in this part of the script, and I guess if you made it to this part of the video, I applaud you, and that you were able to make it through all of these things. And I guess the reason why I actually didn't decide to re-record, which section was it over here? What part of the script? I think it was over here. Oh yeah, it was over here. The reason why I didn't decide to re-record this part, because I think it's actually really important that even some things like that show up inside of the recording, because I don't want you guys to think that I am like a god at Roblox scripting, because you know we all make mistakes here and there. If I ever make a mistake in the video, or you know at certain parts of the video I'll say, hey, you know, if you notice a mistake I made or something that I could have done better, any of that, please let me know in the comments, because it's really important that, for one, that I make sure that these things are fixed, because, you know, I don't want to be providing incorrect information. And of course, there are going to be occasions where I do cut parts out of the video, where I make mistakes like this if I catch it really early on. But in some scenarios, it's not the best to do that, because with ones like this, you know, if I catch it right there as I'm explaining it, it's good for me to be able to explain why either I originally included it, maybe why I don't need it inside of the script now, and to see the thought process of what I needed to change it to, because I know for some of you guys that could be really important and valuable, because, you know, especially early on when you're learning how to script and do all of these things, it might be tough to figure out where in certain parts of the script or what things you need to change in order to make it work properly, or to optimize it so your game won't lag as much, or so there won't be things that break under certain circumstances. So I guess for those of you who might have gotten frustrated and be like, oh, you know, why didn't he, you know, fix that earlier, or that kind of thing. For those of you who have, you know, made it past that part, I appreciate you sticking through that. I hope that you learned from this and I guess some of the other things that I did mention. And I do apologize for not fixing this a little bit sooner before explaining this part of the video. And nothing against people who say like, oh, you know, he should have fixed this sooner. I know I should have fixed it sooner. That is my bad. And those are things that I try to really get down and check before I get to parts of the video like this one. So again, don't forget to check out the tutorial playlist I'll have at the card at the top right of the screen or in the description below if you are interested in seeing over 20 other tutorials of mine currently in this series. Right now this is episode 24, so as of uploading this video in early September 2020, there are going to be 23 other tutorials as part of this series, but chances are by the time you're watching this in the far, far future, hopefully I will have like over 100 other episodes, so give that a try. If there's something in there that, or if there's like a tutorial missing in there that you really want me to do, then make sure to leave a comment down below and I will try to make a tutorial on that. If you have any further questions, suggestions, feedback, anything you liked, anything you didn't like in the video that you think I should improve, let me know in a comment down below. Or anyway, hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you learned a lot. Best of luck when developing your game, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.